Welcome back. In the last class, we have studied about handling exceptions, and three programs have been executed: exception1.py, exception2, and exception3. And we have seen how to handle zero division error, value error, etc. Let us continue. In this class, let us study about user-defined exceptions. We have seen in Python there are few built-in exceptions which are value error, type error, zero division error, etc. There are situations in which there may be a new type of exception which are to be handled by the user. For that purpose, there must be a provision in the programming language to create users' own exceptions. So, like the built-in exceptions, programmers can also create their own exceptions, which are called user-defined exceptions or custom exceptions. I will give you an example. If a customer does not maintain a minimum balance in a bank account, normally nowadays in SB account there must be a minimum of 1000 rupees for without checkbook. For with checkbook, say 2000 rupees minimum balance is to be maintained. And for some other account, for Jandan account, say there need customer need not maintain any minimum balance. And there are some accounts where you have overdraft facility where they have to maintain a minimum of 10,000, etc. Under such circumstances, the value goes on changing. Here, we have to create our own exception, a method to handle our own exception. So in such a case, we have to use a raise statement. Raise is a keyword, and then raise a user-defined exception. There are three steps to be followed, three important steps to be followed while creating our own exceptions. First one, create a subclass of the built-in exception class. This is very important. User-defined exception is a class. You recall classes and objects. That user-defined exception must be under a class called sub-exception. Exception is a superclass and user-defined exception must be a subclass. Here we have to implement inheritance property of object-oriented programming. Using a raise statement, as I already told, raise is a keyword which is used to raise the user-defined exception. Write the code for the possibility of the suspected exception. In the raise statement, we have to write the code, say in this example, whether a minimum balance is maintained in a specific account or not. And the third step is insert the code inside the try block and catch exception. So in the try block, you use this one and then you give your own name to the exception defined by you. Okay, so these are the three steps to be followed. First one is very important. A subclass is to be created under exception class. Second one, a raise statement is to be written. And third one, insert the code to handle that exception inside that try block. Okay, so let me see how to create user-defined exception by a program exception4.py. Let me open the Anaconda interpreter. So this is my program exception 4. You see here there are 4 bank accounts. I have created a dictionary by name bank. As you know, a dictionary consists of keys and values. Here keys are strings and values are float. So there are 4 different account holders: Raj, Vani, Ajay and Singh. Right. So account is created by using a dictionary which is a combination of keys and values. As I told, you have to create a subclass under the class exception. Now the exception is the parent class. That is why I have written inside the small bracket while creating a class. And I have named my subclass as my exception. You see here, this statement class my exception within small bracket exception terminated by a colon. It will define a subclass whose name is my exception under a superclass or parent class called exception. Here in this class I have one constructor. You recall what a constructor is. Init is used as a constructor. Here this init is used to pass an argument. What is a constructor? A constructor is a program or a method which will be automatically called whenever an object is created of that class. If I create an object of my exception class, this init will be automatically called and it will pass this argument that I will pass to this init to self.msg. Next, I have a method called check. Check is very important. In the check, we are raising the exception, raise my exception when for, use a for loop, for k comma v. There are two combinations here. K stands for keys and v stands for values. For all keys and values in the given dictionary whose name is bank, in dict.items, you print name equals colon 15s, balance equals colon 10.2f dot format kv. What is this 15s? That means for a name is to be printed in the form of a table. The space reserved for a name is 15 characters. You see here, in our example, we have taken Raj, Vani, Ajay, Singh, etc. None of the names crossed 15 characters. However, while formatting, what the compiler does is, it reserves 15 spaces for that purpose. Okay, so Raj has only 3 characters. It will print Raj in first 3 positions. Then the remaining 12 will be left blank. Then the balance 5000.00 will be printed. And for the balance, we have again, see here, a format colon 10.2f. That means prior to the decimal point, there must be 10 digits. After the decimal point, only 2 digits. Okay, so we can go up to 10 digits prior to the decimal, after decimal 2, that is what this 10.2f says. 15s for 15 characters, 10.2f for 10 digits prior to the decimal point to after the decimal point. In the same format, k and v will be printed. K corresponds to keys, which are the name, and v corresponds to the value, which is the floating point number, corresponds to the balance. So that is why it will print all elements of this dictionary. Next, now in this case, I have taken a condition that if the balance of any customer account is less than 2000, it should throw an error. Minimum balance to be maintained is 2000. You can vary that one. It need not be 2000 always. So it will raise an exception the moment if the value v is less than 2000.00, raise my exception. This is a user defined exception, not maintained minimum balance by plus k. So not maintained minimum balance, it is a string that will be printed. It is concatenated with k. K corresponds to what? Keys. each element has a key in the dictionary. That key is nothing but the string. String is concatenated. Next, we have to use try except block. In the try block, you call the check method of the class myException and pass the dictionary bank to it, and it will be printed. All the elements will be printed, and if v goes to less than 2000, it will throw an error. Okay, so accept myException as me. Remember, myException is the subclass and me is an object in that subclass. Finally, use print me where it will print the object. Okay, so object means all the elements will be printed, and if any of the customer's account goes less than 600, it will throw an error, not maintained minimum balance by plus k. K means, so say in this example, sing. Key value for the last element is sing. It will print not maintained minimum balance by sing. Okay, so let me run this program. You see here, name Raj. So here 15 spaces are left. After the 15 space, balance will be printed. Balance equals 5000.00. So here it's a 10 positions before decimal point. So finally it will print not maintained minimum balance by sing, because sing's balance is just 600. So this is about user defined exceptions. And the last topic here is assertions. So in Python, there is another statement similar to rise. We have assert. Assert statement provides a simple way to confirm that the state of a computation is as expected. So prior to generating an error, if we check the situation itself, whether it is within the limit or not. For example, if I expect a user to enter an integer in the range say 20 to 25, then I can use assert to check whether the user entered less than 20 or greater than 25 and throw an assertion error. So in this case, when an assert statement is encountered, the Boolean expression is evaluated. It is a Boolean expression. As I told in the example, if it is less than 20 or greater than 25. So it is a Boolean statement. If true is if the result is true, if the result of assertion is true, then the execution proceeds. That means it is within the range. And if it is false, then an assertion error exception is raised. Okay, so I have written a program assertion.py. Let me see that program in the interpreter. It is a very simple program. So I have a try except block. In the try x, input an integer, enter a number between 5 and 10. So the input, which is typecasted into integer, then use an assert statement. Assert x greater than or equal to 5 and x less than or equal to 10. Now the range is 5 to 10. If it goes less than 5, it will throw an error. Again, if it goes above 10, then also it will throw an error. If the number printed is within the range 5 and 10, then only the output of this statement is true, and then it enters the print statement. Here print the number entered, comma x. So it is whenever it is within 5 to 10. Otherwise it will skip this print statement, then comes to the except block, except assertion error, and it prints your input is not correct. So if it is less than 5 or greater than 10, it prints your input is not correct. Otherwise, it prints the number you have entered. Let me run this program. Prior to that one, I will clear the console. Okay, you see here, enter a number between 5 and 10. I enter 4. It says your input is not correct. Again, I run this program. Enter the 5. Now I enter 9. Okay, if I enter 9, enter the number entered is 9. It prints it correctly. So with this